My mom texted about my son's birthday. We'll celebrate another time, money's tight. I replied, no problem. That evening my sister posted a lavish party for her kids. My son whispered, they always choose them. I said nothing and just opened my phone and handled one thing. At 9 a.m. my dad was knocking like crazy. My name is Tessa and my parents threw a party. A big, beautiful balloon-filled party with a custom cake, a bouncy house, matching plates, the whole 9 yards. Just not for my son. Let me back up. I'm 34, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and until about 6 weeks ago, I genuinely believed my family loved my kid the same way they loved my sister Jolene's kids. I mean, why wouldn't I? He's 7. He's got this gap-toothed smile that could sell toothpaste. He calls my dad Papa Bear. He draws my mom cards on random Tuesdays for no reason. This kid, my Elliot, he loves these people. And I thought they loved him back. So here's what happened. Elliot's birthday was coming up March 15th. I'd been planning for weeks. Nothing crazy, I was thinking maybe a bowling party, 10 kids, pizza, one of those sheet cakes from the grocery store with the blue frosting he likes. Simple, fun, affordable. Because here's the thing you need to know about me. I'm careful with money. Not cheap careful. There's a difference and I will die on that hill. I work as a dental hygienist. I make decent money. Not great, not terrible. But I'm a single mom. Elliot's dad, Greg, left when Elliot was 2 and the child support situation is, let's call it inconsistent, and leave it at that. So I budget. I save. I clip coupons like it's 1987. I drive a 2016 Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door that I've named Gerald because at this point, Gerald is part of the car's personality. And the reason I've been saving so hard? I was trying to put together a down payment on a small condo. Elliot and I had been renting a 2-bedroom apartment for 5 years, and the landlord had just told me he was raising the rent again. I was this close to having enough. Like for months away close. So every dollar mattered. No. My sister Jolene. Jolene is 29, she's got 3 kids. Brayden, who's 9, Kaylee, who's 6, and baby Mila, who just turned 1. Jolene's husband Darren took off about a year and a half ago. Just ghosted. Changed his number, moved to some town in Nevada, and basically pretended his whole family was a dream he woke up from. Real stand-up guy. So when Darren left, I stepped in. Because that's what you do, right? You don't watch your sister drown. I started sending Jolene money every month. $300, sometimes $400. To help with groceries, diapers, the light bill, whatever she needed. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't keep a spreadsheet. I helped. Because she's my sister and those are my nieces and nephew and I love them. But here's the part where you might start to see the crack in the wall. About 2 months before Elliot's birthday, my mom called me. Now my mom, her name is Patricia but everyone calls her Patty. She's the kind of woman who phrases demands as suggestions. You know the type? You know what might be nice, Tessa? If you could help your dad fix the fence this weekend. That's not a question. That's an assignment with a smile. So Patty calls me and says, Tessa honey, your father and I are redoing the bathroom. The contractor quoted us and it's a little more than we expected. Do you think you could chip in? Maybe $2,000. $2,000. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny but because, you understand I was already sending Jolene hundreds every month, right? While saving for a condo. While raising a child alone. While Gerald the dented Civic needed new brake pads. So I said as gently as I could, Mom, I really can't right now. I'm saving for the condo and things are tight. I wish I could. Silence. Not the good kind of silence. Not the, oh, I understand sweetheart silence. The other kind. The kind where you can hear someone recalculating how they feel about you in real time. He said, well, your sister would have found a way. And I thought, really? Jolene, who I've been financially propping up for over a year. That Jolene would have found a way to give you $2,000? I didn't say that, obviously. Because I'm not trying to throw my sister under the bus. But I thought it so hard. I just said, I'm sorry, Mom. I hope the renovation goes well. And that was that. Or so I thought. Can you already feel where this is heading? Because honestly I couldn't. I was completely blind. So Elliot's birthday rolls around. I text my mom about a week before and say, hey, planning Elliot's party for the 15th. Bowling at Lucky Lane's 2 o'clock. He'd love it if you and Dad came. She texts back, we'll celebrate another time. Money's tight right now. And I said, no problem. Because I'm a reasonable human being. I get it. Budgets are real. I literally just told her I couldn't help with the bathroom because money was tight, so it would have been pretty hypocritical of me to get upset about the same thing, right? I figured they'd swing by the next weekend, bring a card, maybe take Elliot out for ice cream. No big deal. So we had the bowling party. It was perfect. Elliot and his friends threw gutter balls for 2 hours, ate pizza until they looked green, and he blew out his candles on a sheet cake that said, Happy 7th Elliot, in slightly crooked blue letters because I decorated it myself at midnight the night before. It was chaotic and loud and wonderful. That night I was sitting on the couch, Elliot already asleep, scrolling my phone the way you do when you're tired but your brain won't shut off. And I opened Facebook. And there was. Jolene had posted a photo album. 23 photos. Of a party. Not just any party. A lavish party. We're talking a rented venue, a DJ, one of those elaborate tiered cakes with fondant characters on it, a photo booth with props, goodie bags that looked like they cost more than my grocery bill, and matching t-shirts for all the kids that said Cousin Crew on them. It was a joint birthday party for Braden and Kaylee. And in every single photo, right there in the middle of it all, smiling and laughing and handing out presents, were my parents. My mom and my dad. Patty and Richard. The same parents who told me money was tight. The same parents who couldn't make it to a bowling alley for their grandson's 7th birthday. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just this awful, heavy confusion. Like when you walk into a glass door you thought was open. You're not hurt at first. You're just stunned. And then I heard a small voice behind me. Mom. I turned around and there was Elliot standing in the hallway in his dinosaur pajamas, rubbing his eyes. He must have gotten up for water or something and he'd seen the phone screen over my shoulder. Is that Braden's party? He asked. Yeah, baby. Come here. He climbed onto the couch next to me and looked at the photos. He didn't cry. He didn't throw a fit. He just got real quiet the way kids do when they're processing something they don't have the words for yet. And then he said it. 5 words that just broke me. They always choose them, Mom. Have you ever heard your child say something that you know they've been thinking for a long time but were too afraid to say? That's what this was. This wasn't a new thought. This was something Elliot had noticed again and again and finally said out loud. And the worst part? I couldn't argue with him. Because he was right. I hugged him. I told him I loved him. I told him his birthday party was awesome and it was. I got him water, tucked him back in and sat on the edge of his bed until he fell asleep. Then I went back to the couch. And I opened my phone. Now, do you think I called my mom? Do you think I called Jolene? Do you think I wrote some long emotional text message full of feelings and questions? No. I opened my banking app. I went to the recurring transfers. And I canceled every single payment I was sending to Jolene. Every one. $300 a month gone. Just like that. I didn't send a message. I didn't explain. I didn't warn her. I just turned off the faucet. Was that harsh? Maybe. Probably. But in that moment, sitting on my couch at 11 at night with my kids' words ringing in my ears, I was done being the one who gives and gives and gives while my own child gets treated like an afterthought. I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't peace exactly. It was more like clarity. Like I'd been squinting at something for years and someone finally handed me glasses. But that clarity came with a cost. Because at 9 o'clock the next morning, and I mean exactly 9 o'clock like the man set an alarm, there was a pounding on my front door. Not a knock. A pounding. The kind that makes the chain rattle and Gerald the cat. Yes, I also have a cat named Gerald, don't judge me, I like the name. Jump off the windowsill. I opened the door. And there was my dad. Richard. Red-faced, jaw clenched, pointing his finger at me before I could even say good morning. What the hell did you do, Tessa? And honestly, I didn't even flinch. Because I knew exactly what I did. And I'd do it again. But what happened next, what my dad said, what Jolene did, and what my mom tried to pull, that was a whole other level. And I'm going to tell you all of it. Because this story, it gets so much worse before it gets better. And I need you to hear it. My dad was standing in my doorway looking at me like I'd committed a crime. Richard is not a small man, 6'1", broad shoulders, retired electrician hands. And he was furious. What the hell did you do, Tessa? I leaned against the doorframe. Didn't invite him in. Didn't offer coffee. Good morning to you too, Dad. Jolene called your mother at 7 crying. You cut her off with no warning. She's got 3 kids and no husband and you just pull the rug out. Let me pause here. My father, who skipped his grandson's birthday to attend a lavish party for Jolene's kids, drove across town at 9 in the morning to yell at me for not continuing to fund my sister's life. Do you see the irony? Because I sure did. But I didn't explode. I've learned something about my family over 34 years. If you get emotional, they use it against you. They call you dramatic. They tell each other, you know how Tessa gets. I wasn't going to give them that. Dad, did Jolene tell you why I stopped the payments? She said she has no idea. Did she mention Braden and Kaylee's party? The one you and Mom attended? On the same day as Elliot's birthday? The birthday you told me you couldn't come to because money was tight. That tiny flicker crossed his eyes. He knew exactly what I was talking about. That was different, he said. Jolene needed the help. Those kids have been through hell with Darren leaving. They deserved something nice. Those kids deserved something nice. As if Elliot didn't. As if my son, whose own father sends a check maybe every third month, hadn't also been through something. But Elliot doesn't make a fuss. He just quietly draws cards for grandparents who can't be bothered to show up. I said, Dad, Elliot saw the photos. He saw you and Mom there. And he told me you always choose them. Something crossed his face. Guilt maybe. Like he'd never considered that a 7-year-old might keep score. But then it was gone. You're blowing this out of proportion. We'll make it up to Elliot. But you can't punish Jolene because your feelings are hurt. My feelings. Like I was throwing a tantrum. Like this wasn't about my child's face when he saw those photos. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm done being the family ATM while my kid gets treated like he's optional. And I closed the door. Was that the right move? Part of me felt like a warrior. Part of me wanted to throw up. Within an hour my phone was a war zone. Jolene, I can't believe you're doing this. I have 3 kids. You're cutting me off because you're jealous of a birthday party? Jealous. Like this was about cake and not about my parents deliberately skipping Elliot's birthday. Mom, this is not how I raised you. Family helps family. Call your sister and fix this. Family helps family. Unless that family is Elliot apparently. I didn't respond to a single one. Put my phone on silent, made Elliot terrible dinosaur-shaped pancakes. They looked like blobs with tails but he loved them and we spent the day at the park. But the silence was driving them crazy. By evening I had 14 unread texts and 3 missed calls. I read them all. Responded to none. Monday during my lunch break I got a call I didn't expect. My uncle Warren. Warren is my mom's older brother. 61, lives in Dayton, retired high school principal. He's calm, he's fair, and he's the only person in my family who has never made me feel crazy for having feelings. Hey Tessie, he said. He's the only one who calls me that. Heard there's some weather in the family. I laughed. Some weather was the understatement of the century. Your mom gave me her version. I'd like to hear yours. I told him everything. The renovation money I couldn't give. Mom's comment about Jolene finding a way. The birthday text. The Facebook photos. Elliot's words. The banking app. My dad at the door. He listened without interrupting once. Then he said something that made me feel seen for the first time in weeks. That's not okay, Tessa. None of that is okay. I almost cried right there in the break room next to someone's leftover tuna sandwich. It wasn't anything profound. It was just someone in my family saying what happened to my kid wasn't fair. That I wasn't crazy. But, he said, and I knew a but was coming. Cutting Jolene off without a word was a grenade, not a conversation. You know that, right? I know. But I was so tired of holding everything together while everyone treats me like I should just be grateful. I hear you. And those kids, Braden, Kaylee, Mila, they didn't do this. Jolene is drowning. That doesn't excuse your parents. But there's a difference between setting a boundary and burning a bridge. He was right. And I hated that he was right because being angry was simpler. He said he'd make some calls. Talk to my mom and dad. Make sure everybody understood the real story, not just the version where I was the villain. I gave him a few days. Not because I was ready to forgive, but because Warren had earned my trust over a lifetime of being the one adult in my family who actually listened. But sometimes when you give people time they make things worse. And that's exactly what happened. Wednesday evening I picked Elliot up and drove home. Sitting on the steps outside my building was Jolene. Mila on her hip. This look on her face that I can only describe as rehearsed sadness. You know when someone's been practicing their speech in front of a mirror? That. Tessa, we need to talk. I sent Elliot inside with his homework and sat down next to her. Mila grabbed my necklace because she's 1 and doesn't know about any of this mess. I don't understand why you're doing this to me, Jolene said. Did you know Mom and Dad were going to skip Elliot's birthday to come to your party? She looked away. That told me everything. Jolene. They wanted to be there for Braden and Kaylee. Elliot was excited too. He asked about Papa Bear every day for a week. I didn't think it was a big deal. He had your party. We had ours. You had yours. We had ours. As if a bowling alley with a homemade cake and a venue with a DJ and my parents' undivided attention were the same thing. My son saw those photos, I said quietly. He thinks his grandparents love your kids more. And right now I can't tell him he's wrong. For 1 second I saw something real on her face. Not rehearsed. Genuine. Like she'd never thought about what this looked like from Elliot's side. Then she said the worst possible thing. Maybe if you'd helped Mom and Dad with the renovation, they wouldn't have felt that way about you. I stood up off those steps because if I stayed sitting I was going to say something I couldn't take back. So it's punishment. Skipping my son's birthday was punishment because I didn't give them $2,000. I didn't say that. You literally just said it, Jolene. She started crying. Real tears. Mila started fussing. And I wanted to feel bad for her. But all I could see was Elliot in his dinosaur pajamas, whispering those 5 words. I told her to go. I went inside and found Elliot doing math homework like nothing happened. Sat next to him and helped with long division and pretended my heart wasn't shattered. That night I called Uncle Warren and told him everything. Jolene's visit, the renovation comment, the fact that my parents used Elliot's birthday as leverage because I wouldn't hand over money I didn't have. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Tessie, I'm coming to Columbus this weekend. This needs to happen face to face. Everyone in one room." The thought terrified me. Mom with her passive-aggressive suggestions. Dad with his pointed finger. Jolene with her rehearsed tears. And me trying to hold it together again. But Warren said he'd be there. And that was enough. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was what my mom was going to say in that room. She didn't just defend herself. She said something about Elliot. About my son. To my face. In front of the whole family. And I have never been that angry. Not before. Not since. I'm going to tell you exactly what she said and exactly what I did about it. Because you need to hear how this ends. Saturday came fast. Uncle Warren pulled up in his old blue Ford pickup and gave me a real hug at the door. Not a side pat. The kind where someone holds on and you realize how badly you needed it. "You ready, Tessie?" "Absolutely not." He laughed. "Good. Means you're taking it seriously." We met at my parents' house. Patty always insists on home court advantage. She once rearranged Thanksgiving seating so my Aunt Deborah got stuck next to the bathroom door. That's who we're dealing with. Elliot stayed with my neighbor Mrs. Chin, who's 73 and lets him eat unlimited graham crackers. At least one of us was having a good afternoon. When we walked in, everyone was there. Dad in his recliner looking miserable. Jolene on the couch with Mila asleep in her car seat. Mom in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, mouth set in that thin line that means she's already decided how this goes. Nobody said hello to me. My own childhood home, and not one of them said hi. Warren pulled a dining chair into the living room and laid it out simply. No drama. Just facts. "Tessa asked you to Elliot's birthday. You said money was tight. Same day, you attended a lavish party for Jolene's kids. Tessa's been supporting Jolene financially for over a year. Elliot saw the photos and was hurt. My dad spoke first. We didn't think about it that way. We were just trying to help Jolene. If it had stopped there, I might have softened. That was close to an acknowledgement. But my mom opened her mouth. The difference is that Jolene's kids need more. They don't have a father. Elliot has Tessa and Tessa handles things. Elliot is fine. He doesn't need the same attention. Do you hear that? She was punishing my child for being well-behaved. For being easy. For not being a problem. Then she said it. The thing I will never forget. And frankly, Elliot is one child. Jolene has 3. It's simple math. Simple math. My mother reduced my son to a fraction. 1/3 the priority. 1/3 the love. She didn't even say his name. She said, "one child," like he was a line item on a spreadsheet. I stood up. "Mom, did you seriously just say my son matters less because there's only one of him?" "That's not what I said." "That is exactly what you said." Warren said quietly, "Patty, that's one of the worst things I've ever heard you say. And I've known you 61 years. Her face went angry red. "You're all ganging up on me. I didn't come to Elliot's party because we couldn't afford. But you could afford to help pay for a DJ, I said. And a tiered cake. And a venue. And matching t-shirts. Jolene told me you helped fund that party, Mom. You told me money was tight, then spent more on that party than my monthly grocery budget." My dad looked up. "Patty, is that true?" And this was the moment I realized Dad didn't know everything. Mom had told him they couldn't afford Elliot's party. He'd gone along with it because Patty makes the decisions. But he didn't know she turned around and spent money on Jolene's. "Patty," he said again. "Did you tell me we couldn't afford Elliot's party and then give money to Jolene for hers? It wasn't that simple. Yes or no?" "Yes." My dad stood up. I've rarely seen him angry at my mom. But he looked at her like he was seeing something for the first time. "I missed my grandson's 7th birthday. Because you told me we couldn't afford it. Elliot calls me Papa Bear, Patty. That kid made me a card last month with a bear and a hard hat because he knows I was an electrician. And I wasn't there because you decided he wasn't worth the trip." I was crying. I won't pretend otherwise. Because my dad, for the first time in maybe my entire life, was choosing Elliot. Jolene was crying too. And it wasn't rehearsed this time. I think she was realizing that the money I'd sent for over a year had been invisible to her. She'd taken it the way you take running water. You don't notice until it stops. Warren let the silence sit. Then he said, "Nobody here is a villain. But some of you have been careless. And carelessness when it hits a child does real damage. Elliot is 7. He watches. He remembers. Right now he believes his grandparents love his cousins more. That's what we're here to fix. My mom was staring at her hands. I expected her to argue. Instead she said, I didn't think he'd notice. Something about the smallness of that sentence cracked the room open. She wasn't saying she was right. She was admitting she hadn't thought about it. Almost worse, but at least honest. He noticed every time, Mom. Then Jolene said something I didn't expect. Tessa, I should have told you about the party. I knew it was the same day. I knew Mom and Dad were coming to mine. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to share them. Honest and ugly and real. My little sister, abandoned by her husband, barely keeping her head above water, didn't want to share our parents' attention. I hated it, but I understood it. And the money you sent, she continued. I never really said thank you. I just expected it. That's not okay. I looked at her for a long time. My baby sister with dark circles under her eyes and a sleeping baby at her feet. She wasn't the enemy. She was scared and drowning and grabbing whatever she could reach. I'm not going to let Elliot feel like he's less than, I said. That's not negotiable. But I don't want to lose you either. My dad cleared his throat. Tessa, I'm sorry. I should have been at that bowling alley. I should have driven there myself. That's on me. And Patty, stubborn, infuriating Patty, finally said, I'm sorry too. I was angry about the renovation money and I took it out on Elliot. That was wrong. Perfect apology? No. But she said it. And she meant at least most of it. Warren said, here's what happens now. Patty, Richard, you make this right with Elliot. Not with gifts. With time. You show up. Consistently. And Tessa, when you're ready, you and Jolene figure out support that doesn't leave you feeling used. Nobody argued. The next Saturday my parents came over. Dad brought a model airplane kit and he and Elliot sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours gluing tiny pieces together. Mom brought lunch and sat with me without making a single comment about my apartment or my budget. Awkward? Yes. Enough? Not yet. But it was a start. Jolene and I had coffee a few days later. Just us. I told her I'd help again but differently. No blank check. We'd look at her budget together and she had to apply for county assistance programs she'd been avoiding out of embarrassment. She agreed. And she followed through. Got approved for childcare assistance and food benefits within 3 weeks. Didn't fix everything but took pressure off both of us. Elliot? He's doing great. Dad comes over every Saturday now. They finished the airplane, started a second one. Last week Elliot told me Papa Bear was teaching him how circuits work. My kid is 7 and wiring a light bulb. Terrified and proud at the same time. Mom is trying. Still makes little jabs sometimes but catches herself more. She hasn't missed a single event since. Came to Elliot's school play. Sat in the rain at his soccer game on a metal bleacher and cheered like he was scoring the World Cup. Is my family fixed? Families don't get fixed like cars. You can't drop them off at a shop and pick them up good as new. But we're better. And Elliot doesn't say they always choose them anymore. Last Sunday, everyone had dinner at my parents' house. Me, Elliot, Jolene, all the kids, my parents and Uncle Warren who drove in from Dayton to inspect the progress. Elliot sat between my dad and Braden arguing about whether Batman could beat Spider-Man. Very serious. Very loud. Warren caught my eye across the table and gave me a small nod. Like this is what it's supposed to look like. I nodded back. It's not perfect. But it's ours. Oh, and Gerald? The dented Civic? I got the condo. Closed last month. 2 bedrooms, a little balcony and a parking spot for Gerald. Elliot picked bright green paint for his room. Like a dinosaur. Obviously. Moving day my dad and Warren carried boxes. Mom brought sandwiches. Jolene brought a framed photo of Elliot and her kids at Easter. All covered in chocolate, grinning like maniacs. I hung it in the hallway. If you made it to the end, thank you. Sometimes you just need people to listen. If this resonated or if you've been through something similar, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, a like would mean a lot. And if you do something differently or didn't like something, tell me that too. After surviving a family meeting run by Uncle Warren, I can handle anything. Thanks for watching. It means more than you know.